I know that in order for you to do a partnership in the right way, your values need to align as an organization and you have to be talking to the same community. With partnerships, I truly believe that you're solving problems by aligning with a partner that can solve the problem.
Welcome to Marketing by Design, where you and I learned from our favorite founders and marketers on how they built their success and told their stories by design. I am your host, Andy Milligan. Let's get started.
So why the podcast?
Well, for a few reasons. One was because I needed a forced mechanism to create content and get better at speaking. I grew up with double hearing loss. I have two hearing aids, and speech therapy was something I always took because I couldn't. And a lot of people who have hearing problems can't speak very well because they can't articulate like what they're hearing. So I took speech therapy, and all my teachers growing up will have like this FM system, so they'd have to like wear a necklace that would connect to my hearing aids, and so they would always have to do a test like in front of the whole class, like, Andy, can you hear me? So I was just like always insecure about speaking on camera and just in general. And I felt like it really inhibited my ability to build relationships or just put myself out there. Um, so I started almost 2 years, a little over 2 years ago, and I was still working at the agency at the time. And my very first guest interview was with a designer in Clintonville, so pretty close to here, named Jeremy. And I did it on my lunch break at the agency. Um, Horrible production quality, very very embarrassing to look back on that now. But then my second guest was someone by the name of Lacey Picasso, who I think you
Oh, I
know
love
too.
Lacey.
Yeah. And that was way before I could be genuinely helpful to her or ask good questions. I took my lunch break at 8 a.m. to to give her a very starstruck interview. Um, and it's just been one at a time since then. So once a week, every week for 141 weeks. No.
Are you enjoying it?
Oh yeah. Like now,
So fun,
I mean,
right?
look at where we are now.
I know.
So I'm enjoying it a lot. Yeah. I want to create, I think I told you this last time when we chatted, but I want to create a model of the business where it's stuff like this. And that's what Bill, like, that's literally he says, like, well, my role is playing chess now. Like I get to go meet people, make strategic partnerships and invest in relationships. And that's the fire that I don't think ever goes out. So
Yeah, agreed.
but I view that as a lot of what you do or what you're very good at too, is nurturing and building relationships. So I want to get to know what we didn't touch on last time is kind of your entrepreneurial story and your early days. So where's a good point to start at in terms of your story? Where do you usually start at when you tell it?
Well, when people are asking me how I got started, I think I always start way back when, which is I'm upper middle of 6 kids. So we didn't have a lot growing up, and we lived in an affluent neighborhood. So I always wanted not to wear hand-me-downs
Mm,
and to eat with my friends at a restaurant, which I couldn't afford.
mhm,
So I got a paper route when I was 12 by lying and saying my name is Joe O'Connor. And I think I've told you this before. Maybe stop me if you've heard this, but
uh,
yeah, my parents, we had a beautiful, great childhood. We did everything. We had so much fun, but we really didn't have like a lot of the extra things that you want as a child, especially growing up in Upper Arlington. And yeah, so I started a paper route, and then I've just always worked. I've always enjoyed working, and made my way to Manhattan, worked at Disney. That is pretty much where I like to think I got my master's degree
mhm,
in business working at Disney, and I made all of my friends. Like, that's where I found my tribe.
hmm,
And to this day, I'm still close friends with that group of people that I worked with there. But I met the hottest guy in Manhattan, and he got a job in like
mhm.
hometown and brought me back to Columbus. So I just didn't fit. And I decided I would start Envision. I was pregnant with my daughter, and um, I was like, I'm just gonna work and make ends meet for a while. And that was 20 some years ago.
Wow.
Hmm.
Okay. So we went through that pretty fast, but I want to pick apart a few things there. Um, so New York to Columbus, that
Hmm.
was due to a marriage. Um, Talk to me about when you first started Envision. What was the start, like the inkling to get that started? What were you trying to build?
It's funny. I was actually just trying to solve a problem,
Mhm,
which was I worked for such huge entertainment companies in Manhattan, and then moving to Columbus, I had agency jobs where I just didn't fit. I mean, I really didn't fit.
Hmm.
And I was struggling to find my footing because I think at the core of what I do, it's really a little bit of marketing and a little bit of business development. It's
Hmm.
a true marriage of the two. I think that's what partnerships are.
Hmm.
And so when I started Envision, it was really out of this desire to want to work. I did not want to be a stay-at-home mom. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just not my nature. I'm a
Hmm.
better parent because I work.
Hmm.
And I can use my brain and I can do these creative things and surround myself with some pretty brilliant people.
Hmm.
And so that's really what I was trying to do, is solve that problem. And Envision was the solution. But it's really interesting. I mean, I got onto a plane with a breast pump after calling a friend of mine who landed a job at Nickelodeon and was like, I'm going to start my own company and I'm so excited and this is what I can do for you. And I knew she had some needs that I could do. So I took her out to lunch and I did this whole presentation and we're friends. And she stopped me and she's like, why'd you get on a plane? Of course I'll give you the business.
Hmm.
And so then I cried the whole flight home. And
Yeah.
then I had to set up an LLC and, figure out how I was actually going to accomplish the tasks and hire people. But
Hmm.
Nickelodeon was my first client.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's well, that's a good place to start for sure.
Yeah.
Um, you mentioned you felt like you didn't fit in. Why do you think that is?
No, I don't know if I mean, I'm from Ohio. I love it here. But my goal when I graduated college wasn't, my friends either wanted to get married or they really wanted a job in a very specific arena, right? They either wanted to be a school teacher or everyone just seemed like they kind of knew what they wanted to do.
Hmm.
And I had no idea.
Yeah.
I just knew I wanted to go to a big city.
Hmm.
I can't really explain it. That was my goal. And so I figured out how to get to New York City.
Hmm.
And when I was there, it was the same thing. It was like I was almost more looking for the right people, like my people, than it was the right job. I
Hmm.
had some great jobs.
Hmm.
Um, but when I got to Disney, it became like fun. I mean, people around me were so smart. The things that we were discussing were so big,
Hmm.
and it was just the coolest, like job turn.
Hmm.
I don't know. And I definitely I love sales. Like I love everything about sales. And it was just a really easy, fun fit.
Yeah. You said something there like you didn't know what it was exactly. We just felt drawn to a place. When you
Hmm.
talked about like I drove an hour and a half here and I do weekly, like that resonates with me because against against all like senses of productivity and maybe even logic at times, I always make the trip, whether it's to meet new people or to just work at a co-hatch or something like that. Um, I'm feel like I'm very much in that phase of life too. Um, and like I got to interview a lot of, we talk a lot about marketing on the show. I got to interview a lot of people who have the perspective that it is more of a direct thing. So put in dollars here, get dollars out. This is the goal. This is the objective. We have people who err on the organic side who are like, you know, make relationships, hope things fall in my lap and see what happens, enjoy the journey sort of thing. And then we have people who I would view you as like kind of in the middle where it's like there's strategy that we can do to coordinate some of these efforts, but at the end of the day, it's still like really deep investing in relationships. And you can put a coordinated plan behind that and actually make it productive. You mentioned when you had the conversation with a friend and you had Nickelodeon as your first client, like every throughout my and I'm early in my entrepreneurial journey, but the every sale or every partnership that has started, it hasn't felt like a sale, and you probably would resonate with this. It just feels like a logical sort of next step. It's almost like it's not defeating, but it's just like just it doesn't feel like a win because it just seems normal. That you would work with someone that you've known for a long time, or they just have a need, and you're like, yeah, we can get started with that. Um, what about partnerships and your whole strategy at Envision is uniquely appealing to you? Did you ever have a sense that what resonates so much with you about partnerships and that is your approach as a whole?
Like there's not really a one answer to that question. I think with partnerships, I truly believe that you're solving problems by aligning with a partner that can solve the problem.
Mm.
And you're 100% right. I do think, like how you articulated that, where marketing definitely solves problems, but there are partners out there that can do something very unique and different. And it's kind of like in relationships. I know that in order for you to do a partnership in the right way, your values need to align as an organization and you have to be talking to the same community. So again, it's back to that tribe. It's partnering organizations that all align for the same reasons. And it's oftentimes around a meaningful event, a product launch or a new show or a new game or a new way of educating young children. I tend to stick to the family and moms, if you haven't
Mhm.
gathered that
Yeah,
already.
that makes sense.
Yeah. And like the companies are so passionate about the product launch or whatever it is because of all these reasons. And I already work with this vast amount of organizations who also have the same passion to serve their customers and to make parenting easier or kids learn in a unique way or get kids on devices for good reasons and get kids off devices
Mhm.
for good reasons. And so marrying those two together is to me like a natural sales
Mm.
opportunity.
Yeah.
And then to leverage each other's audiences in different ways is so powerful when it comes together. And
Yeah.
then to build on those,
Mhm.
our most successful clients work together for years.
Mhm.
And they just constantly are looking at ways to elevate those relationships in whatever way. And it's often in really unique ways.
Mhm. Yeah,
So,
that's dude, so much what you just said. When you talk about like investing in relationships, what are some of the like? I'm very much the way I learn is just like by tactical, um, tactical. These are how you get the steps to achieve the outcome. But when it comes to things like relationships, to me, that's like very. A lot of people view that as like abstract sometimes, and they don't know how to invest in relationships, build new ones, and really make that productive for them. I think they don't do a good job of distilling down like the actual action. So an example of an action might just be like sending a voice note every day or sending 5 emails every day. What have you seen to be like very productive actions that you've seen worked well in your experience when it comes to investing in relationships that the listeners or I could do every day that would
oh
help?
my gosh. Well, first I want to ask you, like, what works for you? Because I'm like you, where sometimes I have to remind myself.
Hmm.
If you check out my phone, I have tasks that are like, don't forget to call your friend. She's going through a hard time,
Hmm.
or someone's going through a divorce, or someone's having a baby. Like, I want to remember and I won't.
Yeah.
My brain doesn't work like that. So I have to remind myself.
Hmm.
Um, but are you the same way? Like, do you
Yeah.
do the same thing?
I have to make it a task. And it
Yeah.
sounds bad to like make it. I use a software. I more recently, I used a software called Dex, and it's essentially you aggregate all of your LinkedIn connections, all of your phone contacts, all of your email from like your entire email history in Gmail, and you can set cadence reminders on everyone based on their contact information and how often you want to stay in touch with them, like 6 months, a year. That's what I've been doing is just having a time block for that every morning. LinkedIn has worked really well for me. I mean, I've had conversations and learned from people that I have no business talking to, I guess. Um, but I think it has to be a priority, because and I've heard a lot of content too about people just say like scroll to the bottom of your inbox and refresh with someone. Um, Another thing I try and do is usually it's mostly just for clients, but sending them like more physical gifts, and really capitalizing on like a shared candor moment, whether it's a joke. Um, one of our clients one time, his daughter, he mentioned in a call, his daughter called him like cupcakes, rainbows, and unicorns. Like that was their shared joke. So I sent him a stuffed unicorn.
That's
And-
so great. I love that. And gifting is one of my favorite love languages,
yeah,
but it's not monetary. It's
right.
the super thoughtful, I heard you gifts.
Yes,
I just had dinner
yes.
with a group of women a couple nights ago, and there was one that I was just getting to know, and I really liked her. I don't know what it was about her energy. She was hilarious. She was so smart, but she made these joke references to about Ricky Martin. And it was so funny. And I just wanted her to know that I heard her. So I sent a group chat at the end with pictures of Ricky Martin just
Mhm.
saying sweet dreams
Yeah.
as like a way to show her that I was paying attention. And those little things I think are so powerful.
Yeah.
But I had to remind myself to do it because,
Right.
you get the phone and you call your kids on the way home and it's raining or whatever and you lose
Yeah.
it. And, but gifting's big for me too. And it's little things.
Right.
It's the little thoughtful things, like if you hear someone talk about a particular coffee or whatever it is.
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm with you on that. I like that a lot.
Yeah. It's just the feeling that they were paying attention and they cared. I mean, it's hard. If you talk about, I am, patient zero of not prioritizing it. I don't think anyone prioritizes it enough as they should because if you talk about a compounding effort, like truly compounding, if you invest in 5 relationships a day, you do that I know I say five, just a nice round number, but if you invest in relationships every day for years, I mean, I don't love the or um, the aphorism, like your network is your net worth or other things like that. I don't think that to be objectively true, but I think it's just going first is a really powerful thing. Just like the not having an objective, going first when there was really no reason to, and starting a conversation, reconnecting with someone. I think it's a really positive signal. And one time, even I it doesn't have to be long form either. Like there's a buddy from high school who sent a meme where we were in study hall one time and laughing about. I just sent the meme. He's like, Thinking about you, dude. Saw this and wanted to send your way." And that was it. I said, "Appreciate it, dude."
Those are the
And that was
best.
it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's more of a guy thing. We're just like
No,
grunt, grunt.
no.
We don't have to have a long conversation. Um,
I think
but
that's where it moves from like
mhm,
a relationship to more friendship.
mhm,
That simple meme made you laugh and you think
yeah,
of him in that positive way now, right?
mhm.
And when you see memes like it, you're like, oh my gosh, I need to send this to my friend, right?
Yeah,
I think that's awesome. Yeah, I
yeah,
think gifting's super powerful. I will say this though, I think in my 20s, you said something about your network being your net worth.
mhm,
Um, I don't know, like you're striving so hard to be a success. And my generation's idea of success was dollars, right? Like,
mhm,
what do you need to own? And as I've grown, like, it's so wrong. It's so wrong. And I think my kids and I don't know, like all I've been absorbing from them is they don't have the same definition of success,
mhm,
where the relationships need to be stronger,
mhm.
and who you do business with is more meaningful.
Yeah,
And I feel like I'm heading in that direction with not only my company but with my friendships. I meet people at a huge networking event all the time. I'm meeting people, shaking hands. It feels like too much.
mhm,
And every once in a while, you'll just meet someone and instantly hit it off, or you'll both reading the same book or something, whatever it is. And then I want them in my ecosystem,
mhm.
and I want them to be a part of that. So those little um, friendly reminders. But you're gonna have to remind me that Dex. That sounds overwhelming.
Yeah,
Like how many emails can you send out like
I
that?
know.
I need like 2 assistants.
Yeah,
My database is huge.
I know.
And, that sounds very daunting, but if it's someone that means a lot to me, they get personalized cards
Yeah, and
and
maybe you
usually
can.
things that are inappropriately funny,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of stuff.
Those are good shared moments.
Mhm.
And maybe you can relate to this too. But my experience was when I got into entrepreneurship. Um, and I think it's the same with a lot of people. Where when you start a business, when you're in entrepreneurship, your intermediary circle grows a lot wider. You know a lot more people on a probably less close basis,
Mhm.
and at the expense of that, sometimes your close relationships can fall off because you're focused on going, meeting people, new people. And I was very much the victim of that, where my family, sister, mom, dad, even aunts and uncles, cousins, um, those I didn't nurture in those relationships as much as I should have. Um, and I think it's kind of like a concentric circle because I need like visual examples. It's like an onion to where eventually over time, or like a tree maybe, because those have concentric circles too. Um, as time goes on, the people who are on the outside can eventually work themselves inwards, but it's smaller on average. Like not all the people make their way to earn the trust or earn the shared experiences to become like a really close confidant. Um, you mentioned one thing in the beginning was kind of like assessing like shared values, and a few other things. What are like really positive signals to where you can assess if a partnership or a relationship is going to work or have legs? Like, is there do you have like a gut feeling, or you like, this is a really good calibration between that I'm feeling between these two people? What are some signals that you look for?
Well, often it depends on how transactional the program is. If it's something where we're just doing a very specific metrics, like we're trying to get to a very particular KPI, we usually know who to plug them in with, right? Is it a legacy brand? Is it an emerging brand? Is it a handful of different partners that sort of make up the mix that gets us to those numbers?
Hmm.
We know that and understand that now. And so it makes it's just a lot, I don't want to say easier, but we've done it for so long. But those, unique opportunities that come up, a lot of that's just gut. Like,
Hmm.
"Oh, I don't know exactly why, but you 2 have to get together, and we have to get everyone in the same room," you know?
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and I know the magic's gonna happen, and usually it does. I mean,
Yeah.
not always, but usually. Usually everyone kinda clicks. I think the key thing is getting everybody in the room.
Hmm.
We, are very transparent in how we do business. The partners are always welcome to communicate directly with the client. We definitely facilitate that and manage it. We take a lot of heavy lifting off, which is really people are hiring us to get to the partner to hit those goals and also for the management. But we like to getting them in the room. If it's a large enough campaign, we require it. Everyone has to attend. And that doesn't mean like all the brand managers and marketing folks, it's like, get your salespeople in the room because this has legs. They can promote this and help you win shelf space at a Target,
Mhm.
you know, and get your operating team in here because there's an opportunity for this product launch to actually grow over time. Like they should be hearing about this. And how can you leverage all these other brands' capabilities to do that for you?
Mhm.
So I
Yeah.
think if that answers your
Yeah.
question, um, having those conversations is really critical,
Mhm.
on some of those bigger but it's true in life too, right?
Yeah. I think it comes down to on maybe a less tactical level, but doing your homework to some extent. You know, you are able to know, like, you start from a tactical sense of you know how things can fit together like a puzzle. Like, it's not a lot of gray area there. And then you can then move down to like, okay, there's a personality fit here that maybe we can make an introduction for. Um, I've seen that. And this is more of a personal, maybe more of a personal itch question because as we start to hire and as I start to look for people that I want to partner with to embody my core values as a company, when you approach hiring or bring someone onto your team, do the same principles apply? What are some of the things that you're looking for when you're having someone execute your vision? I imagine there's a lot more emotion involved, but what do you look for there?
Oh my gosh, I think that's one of the hardest things for me as an entrepreneur or business owner to do is hire. I
Mm.
naturally am a salesperson. I want
Mhm.
everyone to like me,
Yeah.
and I really wanna like you and get to know you. So even in the interview process, I'm probably not the best person because I'm
Yeah.
like, "So tell me, how many dogs do you have?" And, you know, I mean, "Where are you from? And how long was your
Literally
drive
me.
here?"
Yeah.
And, "Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, have you read this book?"
Yeah.
And, you know, so we get along great, but whether or
Mm.
not they're capable of doing the
I
position
know.
are very different things.
Yes. Exactly.
So I don't know how to answer that question except to say I leave it to people who are smarter than me. I make sure that when we go through the interview process, everyone's having questions answered, so it's not just being vetted through a smaller group.
Mhm.
Especially once they get closer to making the hire, I really want everyone to fit. It doesn't mean you have to have the same personalities, and you don't have. You probably should have different disc assessments and
Hmm.
powers and strengths, right? For
Mhm.
especially for a different job. But we want to all be able to communicate in a way where we can grow together.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
if that makes sense,
Yeah, it
I
does.
just find that to be such a challenge. I think hiring has always been my Achilles heel. That and accounting.
Mm.
I love getting into the numbers and understanding the numbers, but
Mhm.
you shouldn't have me handle all the books.
Yeah. Well, I think you're self-aware on um, knowing where the shortcomings are and keep reaching out to people in order to solve them. I mean,
Yes.
there's I can't remember where I heard this, but there's just the idea that if you have self-awareness of your own strengths, it becomes a lot easier to see where you fall short and make the relationships. And I think having the people side is advantageous in all of them, I would argue, because then you don't have a problem reaching out and being vulnerable, saying, "Hey, I need help with this," and people skills reinforce that. I think a lot of people, especially people who are technically savvy or maybe they're very creative, get a lot of head trash around sometimes asking for help admitting that they have shortcomings, and also taking feedback, especially creative people. Um, like I have a design background, and like I was raised in an environment where, you know, like any type of feedback on your creativity or your work was just like dagger in the heart, twist it sort of thing. Um, but when you have developing like my interpersonal skills has been really big for me, and not just silencing that part of my personality, but also admitting that I have shortcomings in other areas and being okay with having people that, are 2 or 3 steps ahead of me to either call me out on it, like I mentioned Casey did, or seek out those people that I can see benefit me in those areas. The first time that I actually hired or subcontracted out design work, it was incredible. Um, because I saw like the website process, you start with the design, you go to development. I've always been very gifted. Not I've been always spent a lot of time in design. The first time I saw the wireframes get developed into a real website, I was like, this is unbelievable. Like I don't want to do anything else
You're like,
ever
"I
again.
love it. I
I
get it."
know.
Yeah.
It's like I now have the ability to embody this skill set and lift this person up and do what they uniquely do best. Um, so when it comes to partnerships and things like that, I'm always thinking about where is this person more skilled, or where is this person um, more advantage and an area that's a shortcoming of mine. Um,
I
one thing I
love
did
that
when
you
I
complement each other with that,
right.
right? Like the power of that. I have a question about your design. Where did you go to school?
So short version is I went to the University of Findlay. I went to for in high school. I went to Graham High School in near Springfield. I went to Methodist University to play golf on scholarship and get out of the snow. Went there for 2 years, and I transferred to the University of Findlay, where I graduated in marketing. So
So, my daughter went to CCAD,
okay,
and my favorite thing about that college was they had critiques. And
hmm
from the very first time she ever created anything, she had to stand up in front of the class and people had to give their feedback.
yeah,
And the first time she was sweating, she was so nervous. She's super talented, but she didn't really believe in herself.
mhm,
And I think that was probably the biggest gift was to be able to start over time, kind of like you in podcasting, right?
mhm,
Over time, it becomes more comfortable and you become more fluid. But I think critiques is something that all of us could use.
yeah,
Learning how to take feedback, more importantly, asking for it,
yes,
trying to get better about that. And I'm
yeah,
still very weak, but asking, I often ask our clients, how are we doing? How are things going? How are you
hmm
feeling about this project?
yes. I literally just had this conversation. What you just said, I just had this conversation. And I shared this with Bill last week too. Is we had a I had a really big reflection moment recently because we had a really big client. And it was one of those where we're like a leaner consultancy. So I was involved with multiple people throughout the company, trying to be as helpful as possible, meeting as many people as possible. Like, how can I? But I think there's a good value to that. Um, but essentially, it jaded me from the key stakeholder and the what needed to be done by that date, and I didn't communicate well, and I was jaded by other people. So there was like full responsibility on my end. And I told this to a mentor of mine, told to Bill too. Um, when that can happen, I just see them like slowly nodding and just like understanding. And he said, my mentor said, every time you get into a bigger scope engagement where you want to make sure the relationship is front and center, you want to make sure communication is prioritized, is you just send an email to the stakeholder, to your key point of contact, and you say, we need to have a recurring meeting. It can just be 15 minutes. And there's 3 agenda items. It's how is communication? How can communication be improved? And how can we support each other? And what's the biggest priorities? And just leave it at that. And then because there's so many small under the radar things, like did he miss this email? And then that can just like build up, and you just realize the emotions from are so different from when you first started.
Yes.
Um, do you have any like personal experiences with, maybe a relationship that went wrong or a relationship that's gone very well that has kind of reinforced your beliefs around growing, maintaining, or maybe you have small habits like that that have helped you to grow and maintain relationships?
I think you just hit the nail on the head. I think in the beginning, we just assumed we were doing great. I think One of the clients that we lost that I'm still sort of disheartened about was Tyson. We were doing these really cool programs where Tyson had a hot deli counter and every retailer, I mean, every grocery store across the country, right?
Mhm.
And so we would partner them with other brands inside the store. So if it was like hot, we would have like Tabasco and breads and chips and all sodas and cocktails or whatever. And it would drive them, you get this discount off of the chicken, but really you're
Mm.
getting a discount off of both. So it was perfect partnership,
Yeah.
right? And so we were on fire. I mean, we closed up more deals. We had such a great relationship with the Krogers of the world, the foot traffic, the design. Like we would do these really elaborate, Super Bowl um, um, events in stores. And the whole time I thought everything was great. And Tyson, I don't think they were happy.
Mhm.
Actually, a lot of it was just a management change that happened in the background, and
Mhm.
we were not aware of it.
Mhm.
And having asked those questions, we could have foreseen it coming.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
ultimately, the relationship probably would have ended because of the management change. That's oftentimes how we are
Mhm.
removed from, but we just usually take the client wherever they go. Hopefully, they go somewhere where we can still work with them.
Yeah. Mhm.
But that, again, like just asking those questions because we are,
Yeah.
we're off and running and we're getting the biggest, we're getting the Coca-Colas of the world. Like we can't do any better than that.
Mhm.
That's as big as it gets,
Right.
right? And, but we never were asking the questions. And I
Yeah.
think if we were asking the questions, we probably could have climbed up to some more senior management
Mhm.
and figured out how to elevate the campaigns that would have worked in a different way,
Mhm.
if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, it does so much. I think a lot of listeners can relate to, and I've had this very personal dialogue recently of I'm very hard on myself as a person, just as a personality trait. Um, but just like if I could go back like a few months and just said this one thing, like this would have all been
Yeah.
mitigated. And I try not to live in that mindset because it's like reflective versus forward facing, which is not a good mindset to be in. Um, but you have to take, like, you honestly just have to take them as lessons. And I'm always trying to do that is like, okay, what's the learning experience? Let's take the scar and remember it for next time a situation arises. And like even the example I gave, I was very diligent on, okay, next multi stakeholder engagement, get this on the calendar, reach out to the assistant, schedule it on the founder's calendar. So hopefully I'm learning. Hopefully we both are.
Well, what do you
But
do to sort of better that narrative when you do find yourself reflecting?
it's a good question. Try and get out of my own head.
Yeah.
So maybe go on a run or something like
Do you
that.
ever have you? And a friend of mine taught me this recently because
Uh-huh.
I'm like you.
Hmm.
Everyone thinks everyone is not like that, and I think most people
Yeah.
step back and replay um, things in the past that have bothered them or
Yeah.
that you wish you could have taken back or done better.
Mhm.
And a friend of mine started, one of my girlfriends has a podcast where she elaborates and talks a lot about her failures
Hmm.
all the time. Like in some ways, she started bragging about them because of what she learned from it and what she took from it. And it's really been a mind shift for me to go back to those and change the narrative.
Hmm.
It's so hard.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it
But
is.
does that work for you as well? Like, have you
Hmm.
tried doing those mind shifts?
I I try to. I think I'm trying to be better as a storyteller as a whole. Because I think it's one thing that's going to be increasingly important, especially in the next couple of years with all the stuff that's going on. My God. But usually, and this is something I talked to Bill about. It's like recency bias. But he said entrepreneurials are or entrepreneurs usually have a like an umbrella character slash personality trait of they reflect more on the losses and less on the wins. So not giving themselves credit and then essentially being very negatively speaking about themselves or about their past actions. Um, because it's kind of an evolutionary productive trait to just always be forward facing. Like, okay, what's next? I need to prepare for the next meal or get the next fire or get stuff in place for the future. Um, I see it in a lot of high performers like you and Casey and Bill and things like that. But when it comes to being self-reflective, I think narratives do tend to change over time. Like for example, when I talked about the interview um, with Lacey, I was like, man, like I'm crushing it. Like she's one of the biggest entrepreneurs in Columbus. And I look back on that now. That's what I was telling myself at the time. I look back on that now and I'm like, Man, that's, like, so embarrassing. That was, like, the worst interview of her entire life.
Yeah,
Um,
but she probably didn't think so.
right,
I
yeah.
bet she thought you were charming and lovely, and she was able to chat a bit. Plus, she's such a nice person.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Um, but then again, it's like we're all jaded by our own
Yeah,
perceptions in the moment, so
100%.
Um, when we like fast forward to today, what are some of the things that you're most excited about to like get out of bed in the morning and do? And that can be like on the entrepreneurial side, it can be on the business side, it can be on the family side. What comes to mind when you're excited about?
I love working. I've always loved working. And so one thing is building Envision to us. I'm trying to figure out now what does it all mean?
Mm-hmm.
What am I going to do with it? Am I at some point am I going to try and sell her? And some point do I want my employees to take over? I'm in this sort of thought process of how can I start because I work a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but because I enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
But how can I start to like get one foot out the door in a way where I can work forever, but a little bit more meaningful, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
I love mentoring and helping others and those kinds of things. So
Hmm.
trying to figure that out right now, but I've been trying to figure it out for 2 years. Like
Yeah,
the past 2 years of like how big and when and
yeah,
when's it relevant and how will it help employees or other people and
mm-hmm.
so there's a lot of that in my brain right now. Also, but I think it's more the longevity of it. I can't imagine. My dad when he retired, it was like this day where we had a party, and the next day he didn't know where to go.
Hmm.
Not he's
Yeah,
very active and he does all these really cool things, but
mm-hmm.
I don't think I want that.
Yeah,
I want
yeah,
some place to go.
yeah,
And, I wanna have a plan for what I'm gonna do and how I'm gonna do it and how many mountains am I gonna climb and who am I doing it with, and
yeah,
hopefully it's all my friends and, so trying to sort of wrap my head around what that looks like so I
yeah.
can but can I still work while I do it? A little bit,
Right,
you
yeah.
know?
I mean, this you hit a really good point on there, and it's something I'm thinking about a lot these days. It's just the balance of like the day to day versus the long term. So, for example, when I first started, I got so deep, like I love working. I'm gonna do this all the time, and I can be very selfish with my time now. Um, like single, no kids, things like that. Um, so I came at the direct expenses. Like I'm trying to build something that's very long term. Like how when those constraints arrive, can I create the best situation possible? And I eventually came to the realization where it was like, I'm not enjoying what I'm doing in the day to day in service of my future self, And it it's a very hard balance to strike because a lot of things that are short term satisfying or enjoyable don't usually create the biggest picture like scalable business or just valuable asset. Um so it's a really hard thing to balance, because just short term gratification always tends to take over to for better or worse.
Yeah, I am really that's a really good way of putting it. I am trying to think about what to do now for my future self, and a lot of
Mm,
that's health and being active and doing all the things that I love,
yeah.
but a lot of that's also and work's probably the wrong word because it's more just, activity. I wanna I wanna constantly be staying up to speed. My kids are in the process of sending me a ton of, Bad Bunny, so I'm not completely out of the loop on Super Bowl, and I really like him, but I don't know
Yeah.
his music that well, right?
Yeah.
And so they send me, like, his history and the
Uh-huh.
story and the narrative, so I'm like, "Okay, I'm invested,"
Yeah.
you
You ready
know?
for the Super Bowl moment.
But
Yeah.
I do wanna what's Sunday?
Yeah, I know.
I know,
I
I was
know.
asking my friends, "What are we doing?" They're like, "Super Bowl." But yeah, I wanna constantly be learning. And I do have my fear of missing out isn't on like the cocktail parties or a slumber party with my friends' houses, however much I want to do those.
Mhm.
It's the not knowing of future technology. It's the not knowing of, where the next, when's the flying car going to happen. I
Yeah.
really want a flying car.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think it's more of that. So what groups do I need to run in where that's important to them too.
Yeah. It's really hard. I feel the same emotions a lot of times, like not knowing, like if I could have existed in a different time, what would like what and that's an endless rabbit hole of things you can dive down because it's yeah. I mean there's a time not even that long ago where people to have a conversation in a studio like this would have been like unthinkable.
Right?
And you think like 5 years from now, we might not even, just with the way AI is going and everything, like there might not even be things like this that even exist. Everything might be completely digital, which God, I hope not. But um, do you lean more on the optimistic side when it comes to the future? I think you do. But do you also have any fears when it comes to like the unknowns?
I am I've been called a lot of names, and optimistic usually is one of those categories. I'm super positive.
Mm,
I always have been, and I like being super positive. I migrate to people who also are optimistic.
mhm,
Um, but I've also lived through a lot of major changes in the world, and there's some really interesting books on how everything's cyclical.
mhm,
And even though, I mean, one of the first jobs I had when I moved to Manhattan was at New York Law Publishing Company, which was a legal newspaper.
mhm,
And they hired me to sell websites, which was hilarious because I'm really aging myself, but I literally would fly all over the country
mhm.
and walk in a law firm and I'm like, I'm going to get every single one of your attorney's picture on a page and we're the New York law, we're going to do it. And everyone knows us. And they were like, great. And handed us over a ton of money for
Mm.
the worst website. I mean, these were like, it was like 150 pages of people's faces in like a 3 sentence spot. It was horrible,
Yeah.
horrible, but it was such a fun job
Mm,
because we were doing it before everybody else. And because we had this legal background, we could do it for all these, huge law offices. And it was so much fun. But I mean, looking back, none of it's gone away.
yeah.
Um, Newspapers are still here. Advertising's still here. Everyone thought in the year 2000 that we would no longer ever have power or whatever. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yep.
Like everything, take everything with a grain of salt. I mean, definitely. But also, I'm super excited about AI.
Mhm.
I love everything about it. I mean, I hope my kids don't listen to this podcast because they're
Yeah.
like, it's going to kill the world. And I'm like, but do you know how much Fathom helps me in the day
Yeah.
by it? I can be so much more present on a call because I know it's being recorded and I can ask what questions specifically did they ask and how
Mhm.
did they respond. So I'm making sure that I'm hearing it correctly.
Mm.
And I mean, that saves me.
Yeah.
It has been such a dramatic help because I am all over the board and it
Yeah.
lets me really focus or go back when I can't remember. I love some of the AI capabilities that we've never had. And I think for people like me, it has been nothing but a blessing.
Yeah. I think a big philosophy just overall is, I mean, it just matters where you point the gun, for lack of better terms. Like you can point these things towards productive means, like, call recorder allows you to be more present, invest in relationships, or you can point it towards like hacking a database and then
Yes,
getting all contact information and
100%.
credit card details.
But doesn't everybody already do that? I mean,
Exactly. Yep.
one of my best friends from Disney, she was the producer. She actually did some of the original Disney things that are still there today. And then she went to Sony.com and executive producer there. Like she's just has this, she knows the back end of computers like nobody else. She's just brilliant.
Mhm.
And she was always, 20 years ago, don't sign up for that. They'll take your data and careful with that. And I remember a couple of years ago, I was like, aren't you afraid that your data? She's like, everyone knows my data. She's like,
Yeah.
everyone knows where I am.
Yeah.
She's like, it'd be the easiest person to kill.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so over time, like she even has adapted.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's all these terrible and there's a lot of bad
Mhm.
about AI. It's like
Yeah.
the misuse of anything, but I'm one of those people, and yes, this is going to show my positivity. I'm one of those people that truly believes that most people in the world are good.
Mhm.
Most people. There is a small percentage of people there's probably a bigger percentage of people who do bad things for sometimes maybe the right reasons. Doesn't necessarily make them bad people, but they're not people you want to really surround yourself with. They're just not honest.
Mhm.
And then there are some who are just truly not good people. But for the most part, I believe that someone would help if you needed help and people would be there. And I think history's proved that over
Yeah.
and over again. So hopefully that
Yeah.
continues.
Yeah. I
And we
think
got people like you, right? You're doing good.
trying to.
Yeah.
Well, I'd tell you what I'm doubling down on is just like relationships and in person anything, like things like this. Things like, masterminds or networking groups where it's a very intimate and curated group, you know?
Intimate and curated.
Yes.
Yes, you are 100% right. I
Yep.
struggle with huge
I know.
networking. I mean, I still sweat walking into like a 2,000 person brunch or something,
Mhm.
and I'm like, I'm fabulous. But walking into that room, I'm like, it's
Yeah.
so overwhelming. And what if I can't find anybody to talk to?
Yeah.
It's still
Yeah.
a
I
lot.
am, dude, at heart, I am still the um, awkward fourth grader who, had big cochlear implant hearing aids. So I relate to that for sure. But just like rooms where there are truly no judgment, I feel like I had a really good experience at like it was kind of my first ever very curated like mastermind group. It was a friend of mine named Jay. He put it on in Columbus at a restaurant called Isla. Um, and it's like a not I'm not a fan of places like this because, traditional conservative Midwest backgrounds, like, let's get KFC or something like that. Um, but it was like a 15-course meal, like, very curated, very tasteful environment, and he facilitated it so well in a way where, that he knew everyone that was coming, got up one at a time, introduced people, laid out, like, the seating arrangement. So, like, "Hey, Andy, you need to go talk to Craig over here," and then like changing seating throughout the meal, which the dinner lasted like 4 hours, just like absurd. But I enjoyed every minute of it. And it's so much more productive to even when you approach a bigger group to walk away with like two or three really close connections and potential relationships rather than just like, okay, business card here, business card here, business card here. Um, that like I viewed that those 4 hours, and it could have been done way quicker as like the highlight of my month and week and year, to be honest with you. And those have been very productive relationships that would not have happened if I hadn't, invested the time and the resources to really get the most out of it. And I think in an age where digital connection and content and people and surface level relationships can be manufactured very quickly, people are going to really have an experience like that and be like, wow, we need to have like way more of those. So
I could not agree more. I couldn't agree more. And think how much thought Jay put into who's going to be in the
yeah,
room. Why is the food important? Why is the facility important? I mean, those are such thoughtful that you had enough trust to go,
yeah.
right? If he said, "Hey, come to this 4-hour dinner," you've been like,
I
like,
guess,
thanks,
yeah. To
buddy.
hit up a drive through.
Yeah,
No.
you're yeah, yeah. Where's KFC? I'll bring my own. I'll
Yep.
bring my own finger and Lincoln. Good,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. But then also
Absolutely.
like the value you attribute with, I think you probably experience this a lot, is the value that people attribute with the connector. Like, like when someone introduces you, the first thing you talk about is like, oh, you know Bridget, yeah, like she's so awesome. Um, and when you are the connection between 2 points, that is the strongest position to have because people attribute so much value to that. And I always remember within my relationship how I met someone. I just have like a really good kind of dialed sense on that just because I keep very detailed logs of everything. Um, and I know the people who have introduced me to the most who truly have, your best interests at heart. It's a very powerful prediction to have, and it's something that you can invest more into. The more people you know, you can kind of play that chess role. Like, yes, you two would match very well together, and then you can create that association with both of them and really multiply your impact. And when I think of people who are like going to your funeral, at the end of the day, that's what really matters. And that's I feel like the most productive way to make more relationships and do it on a deeper level too. So.
Well, you're running in the right circles, my friend. I met you, and we've spoken frequently about people that we're mutually connected to,
Mm.
and I really admire and trust the ones that you're surrounding yourself with. So well done,
Thank you.
well
Well,
done.
I mean, we can get into good crowds and we can get into bad ones. And I, by happenstance, hopefully, I've stumbled into a good one. So, um, well, dude, this has been an awesome, like, seriously, an awesome conversation.
It's been really fun.
Um, if people are listening and they want to get in touch with you, learn more about Envision, what can they do? Where should they go?
Our website, Envision P, it's ENVISIONP. I have to spell it because everyone spells it with an I.
Mhm.
And the website or LinkedIn, I'm probably the most on LinkedIn than anywhere else.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But if you're want to be connected, I'm your girl.
Yep.
And I love things like this,
Yeah.
especially when they come from the cool people that you know.